Weekend nights, the city roars. Tune in loud, turn up some more. Cincinnati show, it's time to play. Sports with strawberry ice today. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. CTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry icy's on the mic, energy, it's good delight. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Feel the crowd, it's electric now. Shouting loud, they all know how. CTV got what we crave. Sports with ice, it's waves and waves. Tigers strike and Bengals roar. Every game we want some more. Tune it in and feel the thrill. Strawberry ice, he's giving chills. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. CTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ice, he's on the mic, energy, it's pure delight.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show. This is Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm your host, the Iceman, Jeff Tronopole, and as always, I bring you sports from a West Side point of view right here in the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio, live from the Ice Cave. And apparently, it is true what I've been talking about. I think Dale's been talking about this too as well. Al Golden is going to be the Bengals DC. So, let's discuss this. Are you guys happy with this? I got some thoughts. Jake Liska will be joining me and Dale. He's got to go, since the news is breaking, he's got to go do Locked On Bengals. So he might be about 30 minutes late before he jumps on. But it's a true friend. Now, whoever it was, Cole, Cobra, or who it was yesterday that was dying for Dale to be on the show, he's on the show today because Dale's a good friend. Like Jake's like, hey, I might be like 30 minutes late. I'm like, all right, I'll talk to myself for a while. But then Dale said he'd jump on. So here's my boy from Bengals and Brews. He's Dale Altman. Hang on, Dale. My mouse doesn't want to work again. Hold on 1 second. Come on. Hey, buddy. There you are.
It's cold.
Yeah,
cold.
It's cold. Yeah, I'm dealing with not that everybody needs to know this, but I've been down and out myself this last couple of days, not feeling very good. So, let's get through this. But Al Golden, the Bengals DC. It also looks like that Paul Dano's reporting that Jerry Montgomery.
Yes.
It's going to be the Bengals defense line coach. So there's Jerry Montgomery and there's Al Golden, our new DC. So what I kind of said about Jerry Montgomery is as long as this man can help us get a pass rush, sounds good to me. I have no other thoughts on this. We got two former coaches from the Patriots who didn't have such a great year last year, but that doesn't really mean anything. They still doesn't mean it's not a detriment on their coaching. But what's your thoughts on Al Golden and Jerry Montgomery?
I'm cautiously optimistic on Golden. I mean, it sounds like he likes to bring the blitz. He likes to play a lot of man coverage. So he was here as our linebacker coach, and our linebackers played really well. We went to the Super Bowl. So I'm excited to see what Al Golden can do. And then Jerry Montgomery, I know absolutely nothing about. So I was just trying to find some stuff, right before the show started. And he was with the Packers for a long time was one thing. And like I said, this is very quick research. The only thing is there's an article they were asking this guy who covers the Packers for SB Nation. This was when he was getting hired in New England last year. They were talking to this guy who works for SB Nation covering the Packers. Mm-hmm. And he said he never had a true breakout player at his position. So I don't know if they're only saying he's a D-tackle coach, but he wasn't. He's their D-line coach. And Rashawn Gary is a pretty good player that went to Michigan that they have on their D-line. Like Willie Lutz pointed that out. But this person didn't have a lot of great things to say about him, but also maybe they were just time for a change with the Packers. They said they didn't spend too many high draft choices on players. Well, that's also not necessarily true. But they had Jaron Reed and Dean Lowry starting at D end over Devontae Wyatt. I remember Wyatt was a first-round pick for them too. Rashawn Gary was a first-round pick for them. But he said the last couple years he was a coach highlighted by a lot of Packers fans who wondered why he was the longest tenured coach on the staff, hired by Dom Capers' defense, stuck around for Mike Pettine era and the Joe Barry era. So
there you go.
He was with the Packers a long time, but I feel like they had some good defenses. I'm more than willing to, find out more about this guy and see what everybody's thoughts are on him. So I'm not judging him based on this one thing I'm reading. Just that was a quick thing that I read and I thought I'd share with everybody.
No, that's good because all this broke and then Jake's telling me he can't get on for 30 minutes and I'm like, oh crap. So I'm glad you did some research. I was trying to find some stuff too while I was trying to find somebody to co-host this with me till Jake gets on it. Which I mean you can stay on when Jake gets here, obviously. But yeah,
he's 45 years old. I'll say that too. And now I'm on his Wikipedia. He was played at Iowa for 4 years. Mm-hmm. So kind of came up through there. Only was with the Saints for a year in the NFL. Was an undrafted guy. He was at Indiana, Michigan D-line coach, Oklahoma D-line coach. Then, like I said, Packers from 2015 all the way until 2023. He was with the Packers. So he spent 8-9 years with the Packers.
Rob here
last year at New England.
Right. Now, Rob here, I think he's talking about Golden here. He said he's much more aggressive and quick on field adjustments than Lou. I'm a Michigan fan, which, hey, you and me talked about this last week of Lou's downfalls. It's not making quick enough adjustments during the season, let alone during the game, and then not developing these young guys. And to me, like, I'll go to Al Golden, why I like this hire. He's coming from college. I mean, he had a year or two as a Bengals linebackers coach, but he's mostly from college. All that is about developing guys to get to the next level. And he's proven he can do it. And hey, let's look at it this way. Say what you want about Notre Dame's defense against Ohio State, which, by the way, it's their defense that brought them back to getting somewhat back into that game in the national championship. So that bodes well. I don't think Notre Dame is there without their defense, to be honest. So that's where I'm not going to say it's a home run hire because I don't know, but I like the hire. I'll just put it that way. I like the hire. I like what I'm hearing. I like because the biggest thing for me is they got to develop guys on this defense, and we haven't done that. So I like Al Golden. Like I said, I don't really know anything about Jerry Montgomery other than what you just said, and hopefully, for me, the biggest thing is on this defensive line. I know somebody said here we got to redo the secondary. I keep saying this until I'm blue in the face. If you can get a consistent pass rush, that'll make the secondary better. I mean, the biggest problem with this defense that we could not get a consistent pass rush. We're actually okay at stopping the run, which is, I was worried about that at the beginning of the year. I mean, not great at stopping the run, but a lot better than I thought we were. Our pass rush sucked. It was terrible.
Yeah, and like I'll say this for Golden. So Notre Dame the last 2 years, top 10 defenses, for 2 years in a row. That's a good sign. You always like that. Mm-hmm. And then also, like, for the national championship, Ohio State loaded with offensive talent. Let's not pretend they're not.
Yeah.
And so they were doing that against everybody. Tennessee, great defense. Oregon, great defense. Mm-hmm. Texas, held them in check a little bit at times, but they were still able to put points and win the game. So they faced some good defenses, and Notre Dame was another good defense. It's tough to stop them. But also, he was without Benjamin Morrison, who would have been a first-round corner. Now he has a hip injury, so it's a little clouded if he'll go that high now or not. Mm-hmm. But he was also without Riley Mills, who was their best pass rusher at defensive tackle. So he's without two of the starters there on defense for Notre Dame in that national championship game. So, talking about still getting the best out of guys, he dealt with a lot of injuries this year. Right. And still got them to the national championship dealing with those injuries. So that's what we're talking about with, hey, you got to have next man up mentality. You got to be able to realize you need to put another guy in, a younger guy in. So that does excite me with Al Golden. He's seen it. He's done it. He's been around the block. He's been in the NFL. He's been in college. He's developed players. So I'm cautiously optimistic and hopeful. And I think we needed a change, right? We just did with Lou, the two bad seasons, and it was just time for a change, so let's see what happens.
Lou landed on his feet. He's Indianapolis's defense coach now. So, and a good point to what you just said, that Notre Dame went through injuries and they had to do next man up. I mean, the Bengals went through a ton of injuries on the defense side throughout the whole team, and that was the other thing is. I'll give Luke credit for this. Once the injuries happened, the young guys did step up. They did start playing better. But like I said, my whole point is they should have played them sooner. Is what was my whole point to this thing, and adjusted the defense to his talent. And that, to me, that's any coach. You have to be able to adjust to the talent that you have. You know, that brings me to the offensive line coach. We were talking about. I was watching Goodberry. He just did a video. Bengals on the Brain on the offensive line coach, Scott Peters, and how Pollock would always do the wide zone, and that didn't really work for us with being a team in shotgun. But as to Joe's point, you can see lots of teams in the NFL right now that are in the playoffs are in shotgun, and they're able to run out of that. Now, from what I've heard, is the run game is going to go back more toward, I guess, the offense coordinator or the passing game guy, or the offense is going to try to figure out how to do the run game. In working with the new offensive line coach, I think that is that what you heard? How they might be doing that?
Yeah, I haven't looked too much into it. I am excited just in general. Scott Peters learning from Callahan, was one of the things that excited me the most. The Browns had some very successful units. I hope that he's able to get his guys at guard, because that's something we definitely need an upgrade on. I hope it's not like, hey, this guy's just going to turn Cordell Volson into a stud. No, he's not. Yeah, and Alex Kappa should be cut. So we need 2 new starting guards, and hopefully they allow this new coach to help pick those guys out in free agency and in the draft. And I'm excited that we're getting these guys in here now, because the Senior Bowl is next week.
Mm-hmm. They need to
and I want these guys on the ground, and they're watching those players.
Exactly. Now, one thing Goodberry brought up, and I'm not against this, but I've my biggest, and you had to protect Joe. I completely agree with this. But the pass rush for me was so bad this year that I really want a defensive guy first. First round pick. But Joe Goodberry saying he would like them to draft a guard in the first round, which, like I said, I am not against it. If they do that, I'll be fine with it, because we need to protect Joe. With you being the draft expert, I know you quote tweeted Dan Jeremiah today about how there's a lot of interior defensive guys there, and you're like also edge. Mm-hmm. With that being said, would it be smarter, since there is more defensive guys than typically offensive guards, would it be smarter for the Bengals to try to go ahead and get a guard in the first round and then try to attack on the defense in the second, third round?
I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but it's also not like I'm not looking either way at that. I'm looking at my board, setting my board, evaluating the players that I have, and there's what the Bengals should do too. Not me, you know what I'm saying? But if I was the Bengals front office and the guys making those draft decisions and the coaches putting those boards together, I look at my board, and if I got a guy and I say, he's 8th overall on my board and he's here at 17, but I got this guard that's 17th overall on my board, and that would be a good pick, and we could use a guard, and maybe we could get one of these. No, I'm still taking the better player. And even if it's a safety or something, Malachi Starks, maybe Xavier Watts, they end up having that high from Notre Dame. Maybe they end up having him that high. I think more like I got him 35th on my board. I think 17's rich personally, but I don't know how they'll view him. And Al Golden, obviously, who coached him, views him very highly, will view him highly. He was an All-American under him. Yeah. So I just think that's tough, because you also got to see what you do in free agency. And I hope we fill at least one of those guard needs. And I do feel like you can still get a guard player, even though I will say D-tackle and edge is a deeper class. But it's like, you can have 12, 15 edge guys go off the board in the top 40 picks. Right. Like, it happens. You just never know.
You never know. That's the draft. It depends on which way it falls. But, I mean, if we can get the thing is, though, you just think about it. If you get 2 solid guards, and we actually have a solid offensive line for Joe Burrow for once, would be awesome. I mean, but to me, like, I don't want to. It's so tricky, because we got holes, and I know somebody said that we got so many holes here. Like, I don't look at it as we have so many holes. We got a couple big ones: 2 guards, edge, and interior. Those are our 4 big holes that, to me, we got to fill. Not 4 big holes. Don't get me wrong, but they're 4 holes I think that can be fixed. And like you said, and I always say this every year, I want to see what we do since the Bengals started doing stuff in free agency last 5 or 7 years. I want to see what we do in free agency. That's going to dictate what we do in the draft, because my thinking is if they do sign a really good guard, then they might push back the guard the first round and try to go get an edge. But then if you get a couple guys there, if you can put it this way, if you got your choice of guard, edge, and interior lineman there at 17, at that point, to me, you just take the best player on your board because you need a spot in all three of them. So whatever the best player on your board is the one you take there.
Yeah, and I guess if I had 3 players and I have the same exact grade on them, I
Right.
can say, well, I got this one over this,
Right.
whatever, but they've got the same exact grade. However, the Bengals do their grading scale. Everyone does those a little different. But they've got 3 players one at edge, one at D tackle, and one at guard. And they're all 3 rated the same. I would hope that they take the defensive lineman just because, and I'm hoping it would be a guy with some pass rush because I think that would help this team. I've seen Joe, and I want the guard fixed. It's not right.
We're not saying that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I'm just saying, I think another pass rusher opposite of Trey or on the interior beside Trey would do wonders for this team, would do wonders for the secondary, improve everything on the defensive side of the ball quite a bit. If you hit that first round with a good pass rusher, whether it's edge or D tackle, and then I think you could still get a guy second, third, fourth round at guard. And you better have already got at least one in free agency. Now, if they went out and they signed 2 starting caliber guards in free agency, let's go.
Which they could. I mean, they signed Ted Karras and Kappa and everything. Oh, they signed Kappa. Well, Kappa was good when they signed him. He just fell off a cliff because he got older. I mean,
what if you can get Tevin Jenkins and Kevin Zeitler for a season?
There you go.
And boom. Got 2 guys. I'm not saying that'll happen.
But that would be freaking, to me, that would be great because offensive linemen are, the more I've gotten into the draft with you the last couple of years, offensive linemen are hard to find and they're hard to develop. Like if you get an edge rusher, if he's athletic and quick, it should be pretty easy. You put your hand in the dirt and you go after the quarterback. That should be pretty easy. The interior defensive line is a little more complicated, but those guys should be easier, in my opinion. I'm no expert whatsoever, but those should be easier to develop than offensive linemen because, especially for us, we just have a hard time developing offensive linemen. We just, in general, we do.
Yeah, and like some guards in the draft, just for people, Armand Membao, he might end up being a tackle. He's played tackle at Missouri. So that's a guy, though, I think that is very high up there, and his stock is on the rise. He might not even be there at 17, but Tyler Booker from Alabama. Donovan Jackson, maybe someone drafts him to play tackle now. Ohio State kid that kicked out from left guard. Mm-hmm. He's an All-American left guard, has to kick out and play left tackle. Baptism by fire, like his first starts against Penn State and Abdul Carter. That kid's pretty good. And Abdul Carter absolutely destroys him. Like he gave up 2 sacks and he had like a 0 grade as a pass protector that day against Penn State and Abdul Carter. But then you go into the playoff run once he got more comfortable at left tackle. He gave up, I think, 0 pressures.
That's
0 pressures in 4 games against 4 of the best defensive lines in the country.
That's pretty good. That's not bad.
So I think he's a guy that could be, hey, at 17, you take him, and here he'd play left guard, and maybe he kicks out to tackle in a couple. He's another one of those guys. It's not crazy to think that could happen.
Right. That's not and the thing is that's planning for the future. Because, I mean, I love Zeus. I want him to retire a Bengal, but sometimes that's not reality. You gotta plan for the future for somebody to be able to kick out that's in your organization to be able to cover that spot. That's what.
And injuries happen. We went through a bunch of them this year.
Yeah. So I mean that would be a good one. Like I said, I can't wait to I just want to hurry up get through the freaking playoffs. I want to get to the Super Bowl. I want to get down. I want to start getting to the Senior Bowl. I want to find out what's going on for
Hey, we got the Senior Bowl next week either way. So,
yeah.
That's the good thing. That's always good practices too, because especially like we're talking about O-line and we're talking about D-line. Those are the best ones during that week of practices. Even the game is not even as important as the practice.
I like the practice. Because the thing is, like if you watch NFL Network or ESPN, they'll just zoom in right on the practice, and you can watch the one-on-one stuff. And it's because that's where I fell in love with Sweat last year.
Yeah, I was going to say Sweat balled out. You can see a really good offensive lineman too that can hold up, and it's honestly a little easier for I like the edge guys versus the offensive tackles. So the guards are a little tougher in that, but
but the edge, I like because you can watch the bend. You can watch how they do and dude, the pressure they put on their ankles at the sizes that they are, I would dislocate my ankle. So those
are good matchups all around, honestly. So, seeing what they'll have, and there's a ton of talent at the Senior Bowl this year. It's underclassmen. Now that this is the second year they're able to do that. So it's not just seniors for the Senior Bowl. It's underclassmen that declared, and they have a bunch of those guys going to be there. So it's just stacked with talent. Should be awesome.
M here says, if I get my mouse to work. Sorry, my mouse was working perfectly before I started the show, and I started showing no one work. All right. M here says, we can expect a young passer to be plug and play year one. Guards usually are plug and play.
I think he's saying you can't. I think he might have just left that part out.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I think you can. I think you can. It's just the Bengals don't always do it. They need to get more snaps for your D linemen, anyways. Like, look at Chris Jenkins and McKinley Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they started getting more snaps and they look pretty good. You're only going to get better if you're playing.
Right. Oh yeah. That's why I kept getting upset with Lou. Why he wouldn't play? Why he wouldn't give more snaps to Miles Murphy or Joseph Osai? I'm like, how are you going to find out what they can do if they don't freaking play? Or how are they going to get it? The only way to get better playing football is playing football. You know, you can practice. Like, practice is practice, and you have to practice, but you got to play. You got to find out, and that's where Lou. And I'm not bagging on Sam Hubbard, but dude was injured all year. Why in the hell did he always get more snaps? And just
yeah, no, it's frustrating because it's just, you know, and you want your D line regardless. You don't want anyone playing 80% of the snaps. D line is the most rotated position league wide for a reason. You know,
exactly.
if you got a guy and you got a 60-40 split, that's good. 65-35, okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it depends on the matchup, the player, the situation.
That's what
but you want to keep it 60-40 if you can, or even 50-50 in an ideal world.
Exactly. Tebow here says Jack Sawyer would be a great pick in the draft. Will he be there at 17, or where you got him at?
I think he'll be there at 17, but I don't necessarily think I'll end up thinking he's worthy of 17. I haven't really thought that, and I got a little too, hyped about it after the fumble return against Texas, but I went back to just my evaluation from all year and why I had him as a second rounder, and I think I got him back as a second round guy. Does he make it to 49? Probably not. Is someone capable of taking him in the first round? Sure. I think he could possibly go in the first, but I don't think he should be our guy at pick 17. I don't think he's a consistent, explosive enough pass rusher that it's like, oh, we got to have that at 17.
What do you think about JTT? I've liked him for the last couple of years. What do you think about him? Where's he going to go?
Yeah, I am so excited because he had a phenomenal playoff run that people didn't even talk about as much as Jack Sawyer's, but he ended up having like 5.5, 6 sacks in 4 playoff games. So I'm wanting to see the all 22 to form a complete opinion on it more. But yeah, they're both, neither of them are like the explosive pass rushers consistently, but they're the size the Bengals like. You know, they're like 6'4". I think Jack's probably closer to 260, 265, and JTT's listed at like 275. So he moves well for a guy that size. And they're both good run defenders too. So there's a lot to like with those guys. But I wouldn't want either of them at 17. I really like the kid out of Marshall, Mike Green.
Yeah.
It'd be different for the Bengals body type, but he's explosive. And then a guy on the interior like Walter Nolan from Ole Miss, who will be at the Senior Bowl, I think could make some money. He's a good interior pass rusher.
I'll have to check him out next week. Now, T. Brookie here. If my mouse will work, there you go. Says we have to enjoy the ride. Don't wish the year away. We have free agency, spring practice, training camp before next season. I'm not wishing. I guess I'm wishing the NFL season away. I want it to get over with because I'm watching it. I'll be rooting against anybody who plays the Chiefs.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm still gonna be rooting against the Chiefs to end this season
so
for sure.
I'll be doing that, but I'm just like I get impatient because this. I didn't, like I said, I wasn't sure if the Bengals were going to make a change or not. The way the defense played toward the end of the season is typically they bring everybody back. Typically, you know, and I thought they might go in that direction again. So that's where I am excited that they changed it. You know, they changed up the direction that normally the organization goes, where they fired a bunch of guys and they're bringing in new blood. And I want to see what they got going on now. The Scott Peters. The one I'm really interested with him is as he got done playing, he got into jiu-jitsu, you know, and I'm really curious of how that's going to play with teaching offensive line. But before I get into that, he's been a very busy man. We have a very busy day today, but he's able to join the show. He's none other than Jake Lisco from Locked On Bengals. Hold on. Jake, what's going on?
What about that picture? What is that doing there? Crazy.
That's a good picture. That's memories right there.
Damata Pecco is right beside me in that picture. That was at Radio Row before the Super Bowl.
Exactly. That was a good time for you. You guys had a good show there. So thanks for joining, Jake. I know it's been busy and it's been a long time no see on the show, so I appreciate you jumping on.
Yeah.
So
it has been busy. We just finished recording our second episode of Locked On Bengals of the day. We spent the morning talking about Scott Peters a little bit and talking about the lease news, the concrete factory. Is that progress? It seems like some progress.
Seems like some progress.
So that's what we spent our morning on, and we just talked about Al Golden for like the 12th time in the last 5 days, and the defensive line coach Jerry Montgomery.
Yeah. We don't know a whole lot about him other than what Dale was able to just look up right before we jumped on.
Well, I got something else for you, Jeff.
Right,
so the Packers D-line under Montgomery in 2023, the year they fired him because they've been there since 2015. Preston Smith, and I don't know how true this is, so I'm just going off one random tweet on the internet. 11 sacks, Rashawn Gary, 10 sacks, Kenny Clark, 10 sacks, Devontae Wyatt, 7 sacks, Lucas Van Ness, 6 sacks, and Carl Brooks, 4 sacks. That sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, I like I said, Jake, if he brings a pass rush and teaches a pass rush, I'm good with it. That was the biggest thing for me on the defense we were missing this year.
Yeah, I think that we don't know a whole lot about this guy. Nobody knows anything about any positional coaches in the NFL until they're hired, except Matt Minnick. Matt Minnick was the only person who mentioned Jerry Montgomery in the last 2 weeks that I saw.
Right.
There are also some Patriots folks out there that were hoping he would be back, and some other Patriots folks out there that were like, why would they keep him? They were terrible. That obviously is a big bit of consensus around the two trench coaches the Bengals hired away from the Patriots, is that those teams were terrible. Why are the Bengals interested in hiring coaches from those teams? At least with Montgomery, for one, I like Peters a lot, and I wrote about it. Hopefully everybody read that. I asked some folks that are still coaching in the league about Peters. They had good things to say about him. Brandon Thorne, offensive line expert, has good things to say about him. Willie Anderson had good things to say about him. And so while he didn't get the results in New England, and who knows if he will in Cincinnati, right? Like, who knows? It is such a refrain for me with all these hires. I think he's a good coach. And I don't know much about Jerry Montgomery, but you go back to what he did in Green Bay, and the one that I focused on is Rashawn Gary. Yes. And Rashawn Gary's breakout is what we're still hoping to see for Miles Murphy. And will that happen? I don't know. I don't know.
It would help if he plays. That might help.
For sure. I don't know if Jerry Montgomery is going to unlock that or not, but they need to develop a bunch of young players on the defensive line. They need to develop all over this defense, and hopefully that is something that Al Golden, coming from a college program where, he's having to connect with kids and get kids to figure out how to play at a young man's game in college football. You're not kids anymore. And so you're hoping that these coaches bring development, because that is something that they sorely missed. And the development also comes with being in sync with your front office, where I think that's definitely part of the reason that the Bengals were looking for a new voice on the defensive side of the ball.
Now, I have a question for you, because we had the offensive line coach last year, Frank Pollock, was also the run game coordinator.
Yes.
And they said something to the effect that the run game coordination or whatever, it's going to be run by the offensive side of the ball in coordination with the offensive line coach. How do you think, do you think they're going to actually hire somebody for that? Because I'm like, more coaches, the better, because they got to be scouts. So that gives us another scout. And we had such success with our passing game this year. We had a passing game coordinator. How do you think that the offensive line coach and the run game is going to mesh this year? Because it hasn't meshed at all the last couple of years.
Well, I'm hoping the orange tinted glasses would say that not having a run game coordinator when your run game wasn't working, and instead making it a collective effort, could improve the synergy of your offense, improve the cohesion of your run game and pass game, or, as you will often see people refer to on social media, the marriage between run game and pass game, where it never felt like that came together with Frank Pollock, who has a wide zone background, and so does Scott Peters. I mean, he comes from the Callahan world, and that is a wide zone world. But from what I was told, Peters can adapt the run game to the personnel and will be able to generally suit the scheme to the personnel strengths. That's what I was told about Peters, is he's an adaptable guy. So the ideal outcome here is that by saying, okay, we're all going to work on this together, is, you get Justin Hill and Scott Peters and Dan Pitcher and whoever else, Jordan Salkin, who I think is an up-and-comer in a big way. Like, if the Bengals need to promote somebody, Jordan Salkin, offensive assistant, came from Oregon, I think is going to be promoted. Like, if they need a new assistant quarterbacks coach, like say Dan Pitcher gets hired to be a head coach somewhere next year or something like that, and they decide Brad Cragthorpe's ready for the OC job. I'm not saying that I think that Brad Cragthorpe is ready for the OC job, but say that they need a new quarterbacks coach and they just promote the way they did last time, and Cragthorpe goes to OC and Freddie Knighton goes to quarterbacks. That's where I think you see Salkin get promoted. That was way too much time to spend talking about Jordan Salkin. Point is you take whatever guys, you throw them in a room and you say, okay, this is our passing game. This is our Joe Burrow offense. Because that's what the Bengals are. They are Joe Burrow on offense. Great. That works awesome. Now let's make it so Joe Burrow, when he's on the 3-yard line, can confidently change the play to a running play in the fourth quarter and be like, yeah, we're going to block this up and Chase Brown's going to get into the end zone. Instead of, well, we tried it, and now I'm just going to fucking sorry, can I curse? Now we're just going to fucking throw the ball because our run game can't do anything. And then they got to put it on. And then they got to put it on Burrow's back, or to finish a game. Can you run the ball on first and second down when the other team knows you're going to run the ball? Like, those are the things that you're hoping for some improvement with.
Exactly. Shout out Dusty Crawford, $5 super chat, says, feels like a lot of defenses is playing sound technique, shedding blocks, flying to the ball. Notre Dame was sensational in all those areas. Like I said, I'm not going to say it's a home run hire, but I am happy with the hire. And to your point, and what me and Dale have said, is Lou's downfall is one adjusting. I don't think he adjusted quickly enough. And he did not develop the young players that, like we're just talking about, Miles Murphy, Joshua Osai, started playing better. Jordan Battle didn't get to play until halfway through the season. These are things that Al Golden's coming from college. That's what he's had to do for the last 10, 15 years that he's been in college. I know he's with the Bengals for a couple years, but he's been mostly a college defensive coach or head coach. That bodes well for what we need the Bengals to do. And Scott Peters, one thing I was bringing this up when you came on, and I thought it was interesting. He's gotten into jiu-jitsu. He did that like after his playing days are done. I'm curious because the hand placement, leverage, all that stuff. I wonder how much is that going to affect the offensive line of getting the leverage, of being more aggressive. Because sometimes I feel like it's AFC North, man. We got to be hard-hitting, aggressive offensive line. I wonder how that's going to play into it.
Yeah, I think go back to Orlando Brown's interview with Jeff Hobson about Peters, and they worked together back when Peters 8 years ago. What was it? First time. Where is it in this article? Yeah, Peters went to Oklahoma to work with their offensive line when Orlando Brown was there. And Orlando Brown said it was the first time he had ever been exposed to the concept of independent hands in that kind of detail. It's what he uses today, especially over the last year. It really helped develop his pass protection skill. And you listen to Willie Anderson literally ever talk about pass protection, and you'll hear him talk about independent hands. You listen to any good offensive line expert out there, they're talking about independent hands. And I think that what is interesting to me about Peter's background is, the mixed martial arts stuff is interesting for sure. And I think he does apply it. I don't say any of this to minimize it, but just the fact that he comes from any player training background is just fascinating to me. It's so different from a typical offensive line coach. And you listen to Willie talk about this. I don't know if you heard it. Willie Anderson was live for like 2 hours yesterday. He was my soundtrack at the gym. I was just listening to Willie Anderson talk, and Willie was saying, or maybe that was Monday. And Willie was saying, you never see these guys break into the NFL.
Right.
It's always offensive line coaches. It's never offensive line trainers that then become offensive line coaches. But Jim McNally recognized that Peters was doing some innovative stuff and incorporating the MMA training and the understanding of biomechanics and leverage. And this isn't like strictly novel. What I think was new for Peters was taking the head out of the block. And you listen to him talk to Dan Horde, that's like the big innovation for him is don't block with your head. And Willie talked about that too. I asked Willie, like, what's the thing that Scott Peters invented that Jim McNally saying he invented? But if Jim McNally loves a guy enough to recommend him to one of the, two of the greatest offensive line coaches of all time here, right? If Jim McNally likes a guy enough to say, hey, Bill Callahan, you should bring this guy in. And Bill Callahan's like, okay, yeah. And then he brings the guy in to consult for him in Washington, hires him to be his assistant offensive line coach in Cleveland. That tells you something, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I agree with
when
that.
Two guys that are legends in that aspect wanted to bring him in at the pro level. So the MMA bit in particular, we'll see how that incorporates with everything else. Willie Anderson was talking about how when he started doing Pilates is when he started going to Pro Bowls and started being an all-pro and stuff. When he started doing like the Pilates and there were some other exercise regimes he was talking about as well. But he also made sure to say like, yeah, but you gotta train technique, and nobody's doing that in the NFL. So hopefully my hope and what would make it a cool hire to me and Scott Peters is if there is more of an emphasis on teaching technique and teaching tools and helping guys develop, because the way Willie Anderson talks about it, there's just no time for that at the NFL level. And so if that is an emphasis for Scott Peters because of his background, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's more of a outside the box thinking. What I kind of like that people are trying to break into this, but not a lot of teams are going that route. So it's kind of a different way. I won't say different way to do it, but it kind of is. But he has been. I mean, it's not like he's never been offensive line coach before. He has, and he, like you say, he's trained under Bill Callahan. So I really like it. I like everything I've heard about it. But again, proof's in the pudding. We'll see what happens when they get on the field. I mean,
like you got Chris in chat saying, do we know how much say Peters had with the draft picks? And last year's draft picks were seen as reaches by the board that Joe Goodberry and I put together, by the consensus board, by all these things, by like 100 plus picks, terrible draft picks, given what we knew at the time, right?
Right.
We don't know if he was involved with those selections. He told Dan Horde that the things that he values most in offensive linemen are intelligence and character and length, which I find interesting. Obviously have a lot of length to work with in Cincinnati at the tackle position between Amarius Mims and Orlando Brown. And so if you can get a little bit more out of those guys, and what I was told is that he specializes in pass pro. So,
that's good for us. We pass the ball a lot.
Absolutely. I mean, it sounds a little backwards, but to me, it's more important that they figure out the running game. I do think they need to improve protection, but the running game is what will help this offense take a step.
Jay, if we get a consistent running game, this offense will be unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean they couldn't run to close out a game.
Yeah, that's the thing that has killed me over the last couple of years. And we even we get it consistent, we will never be a running team. We're going to be a passing team. But if you can consistently get yardage, even when they know you're going to run the ball, because sometimes you know you're running, get yardage, it's going to help.
Go back to Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning's teams were passing teams.
Yeah.
Edgerrin James was on those teams.
Mm-hmm.
They could run to finish a game.
Yep.
I mean, that's part of it, right? Is you're going to be a passing team when you need to. You got Joe Burrow back there, one of the best. I need to drop back and pass. I'm going to drop back and pass quarterbacks in the NFL.
Exactly.
I think maybe one guy can do it at the level that Joe does it at when he needs to pass. Maybe one.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of great quarterbacks.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
I see David ask about a run game coordinator, and it's going to be by committee, is what they've said. So it doesn't sound like we're hiring one at all.
No, I don't think I would like him to, just because I want more scouts. I don't know if that's a reason to hire a coach.
No reason to give Scott this title when you want it to be a group effort. So just let it be a group effort. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Which, like Jake just said, that might help, mesh everything together. They're all working together, which is what they should do. So I do want to roll it here to Hilltop Concrete is finally going to be gone this spring. Now, Jake, I always thought, because they said the practice facility, I was told not to call it the bubble, the practice facility, indoor practice facility, was temporary. Well, now they're coming out with stuff where Hilltop's going to be. It's going to be a grassy area. I always thought they were going to move the practice facility and maybe, I don't know, the Bengals Hall of Fame or something over there. What's your thoughts on are they going to keep the practice facility where it's at, or what's your thoughts on what they're talking about doing?
I don't know. My one thought about this was that, remember like the practice facility sketches that came out where they were going to move the coaches' offices and everything to
they're gonna block my view around the bridge. I know. I don't like those.
a big facility. There's no more crossing the street or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
My thought was that maybe they've adapted that plan to include an indoor facility as part of that. I don't know that the article today ruled out use of that area as a practice facility either. Although I did see the same thing you did about the green space element of it. It also talked about using it as parking.
Yeah.
As part of the commitment the county made to the Bengals, apparently, was that it would be used for parking and potentially a practice facility. So it's not clear to me what exactly that space will be used for at this point in time. But I did have that question. Actually, I didn't have that question. James brought that up when we talked about that this morning. On the episode of Locked On Bengals that is out there. And Derek, I am not Canadian. I mean, you recognize that I abandoned you. That is true. I left Cincinnati when I was 18, which is half my life ago now.
Is it? What's the temperature there right now? Because it might be colder here than it is in Canada right now.
It's above freezing for sure.
Well, I don't know. It was. It's gonna be like 13 when I go to work.
We're
negative 4 this morning.
We're dipping down to like 30 overnight.
Jake, it's snowing in Florida.
I know. I know.
Crazy.
My parents retired to Florida. They're telling me about it. I was looking. It's only like 6 degrees colder there, or colder here than it is there.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. But getting back to the Hilltop thing, I'm glad. I want to get rid of it because it's an eyesore. I'm glad. I mean, it's been there my whole life. I don't ever not remember it being there, even when the old stadium, it's been there. So I'm glad they're going to get rid of it. I am curious as to exactly what, because I mean, the indoor facility, practice facility, I mean, looks pretty good. That's the only one I've ever seen in person. I think somebody showed me a picture for the Texans where theirs was, they had to walk to is farther down in their parking lot of their stadium. So the proximity of it is doable. You can keep it there. It just depends on what they want to do. And like I said, I like all the renderings they did for the new practice facility, around the practice facility they have now. I just don't like it. They're going to block my view on the bridge. That one that's kind of disheartening.
What a shame.
So I know. I don't know what I'm going to do.
You're going to have to find something to do with your days instead of standing on a bridge.
I know. That's bull crap.
Rough.
It's going to be a rough life. Dan, what do you got?
Well, I was just going to ask Jake if he's heard anything on linebacker coach. I know it seems like there's nothing coming out. We didn't, like you said, Matt Minich was the only one that had even this Montgomery guy's name that he floated out there. I've heard nothing besides the Vontez Burfict. Did you see him on John Gruden? It's like, it's not going to be perfect.
You know how I learned about that is I was listening to Paul and Mo. I had no idea that happened. I had no idea that was the thing people were talking about. I sometimes have to leave social media for
why? It's such a wonderful place all the time, Jake.
Because people are unhinged.
Yeah, you think?
No, I haven't heard anything about the linebacker coach. I don't think that anyone is hearing anything about position coaches until they're hired this year. Nobody knew Scott Peters was coming until it happened. Nobody knew that they were interested in Montgomery until it happened. And Al Golden was telegraphed. I was in denial about it. For anybody that listens to Locked On Bengals every day, I was like, oh, maybe they're waiting for Jim Leonard, or maybe they're waiting for Steve Klinkscale, or maybe they're waiting for the what's the Eagles DB coach, Christian Parker? Is that his name?
Yeah.
And it wasn't any of that. It was Al Golden. It was
I kept saying,
I think it's been Al Golden since he left. I think that Zach talked to Al Golden when he left and was like, hey, if Lou ever leaves, we're going to try to bring you back.
Yeah. I mean, me and Dale have been saying this since last week that I said everything's pointing to Al Golden unless, like you said, unless it's some other, not defense coordinator, but a defense coach on one of the playoff teams. They might be looking at them, but I said I kept saying I think it's Al Golden, but
I was hoping for a Jim Leonard at least interview, just because he was awesome at Wisconsin and then DB coach this year for Denver.
I have talked a lot on Locked On Bengals about not loving the process that happened with this hire, but at the same time, like, if you wanted Al Golden, I get it. Like, if you want Al Golden, so think about it. Put yourself in Zach Taylor's shoes here. Here's a coach that you trust. Here's a coach that was part of some good defenses for you. That was Lou Anarumo's lieutenant that has been really good at Notre Dame. Notre Dame folks are devastated to lose him. If you look at like Notre Dame fans that aren't blaming him for throwing because he was thinking about an NFL job instead of game planning for Ohio State, which is a hilarious thing that people say. The people are saying that about Ben Johnson too, leaving the Lions. Like, oh, he was thinking about the Bears job instead of come on, stop it.
Did he throw those 3 interceptions that golf threw?
Yeah, he went out on the field and was like, "Here, guys, you take." Anyway, what was I? Oh, Al Golden.
Al Golden.
Yeah, so put yourself in Taylor's shoes here, right? Like, here's a guy that you know and trust. Are you really going to be moved by interviewing someone you've never met before? Like, arguably you should. You should be open to that. And that is a legitimate criticism. Like, you should be talking to Robert Saleh, in my opinion. You should be talking to Jim Leonard or whoever you think the next guy is. You should be talking to Matt Eberflus despite what happened in Chicago. You should be talking to Dennis Allen despite his head coaching tenure in New Orleans. And maybe Dennis Allen was spoken for. Maybe Robert Saleh was spoken for. But whoever it is, from the outside looking in, it's very easy to say, well, yeah, they should be talking to these other guys. But I also can pretty quickly become sympathetic to the idea that, yeah, Zach knew what he wanted. And it's a good coach. Like, I think Al Golden is a good coach. It just doesn't feel good to Bengals fans ever, when they hire someone who's been there before.
Right.
There wasn't this reaction when they promoted Dan Pitcher.
No.
I think people are on board with that.
Yeah.
People are not on board with this in that way. Although I do think that, like, there's probably at least 50% of Bengals fans that were fine with this from the start. I think there's just like this association with Lou Anarumo that people were not very happy about. And then there's also like a legitimate criticism that they could have had an NFL defensive coordinator who's been an NFL defensive coordinator before, instead of, this is Al Golden's first time being an NFL defensive coordinator. He's been a head coach in college. He's been a linebackers coach in the NFL. He's been a defensive coordinator in college, but he's never been an NFL defensive coordinator. There are plenty of great first-time NFL defensive coordinators out there. Steve Spagnuolo is an example of this. When he had his first defensive coordinator job, the Giants won the Super Bowl. Vic Fangio is an example of this. When he was a first-time defensive coordinator in Carolina, they went to the NFC Championship game in his second year. The list goes on. Like, Brian Flores currently is a first-time defensive coordinator because he was an NFL head coach before he's an NFL defensive coordinator. A bit of a difference there, right?
Crazy.
But
right.
Yeah, I just think that nobody knows how it's going to go. I think Al Golden's a good coach. I think that I understand the rationale from Taylor's perspective. I would have loved to have seen them interview top candidates and have that level of interest, but I get it.
Well, and if it goes bad, I mean, Jeff, you talked about this quite a bit on here too. Taylor already put himself even more on the hot seat than he might have already been on the hot seat coming into this season. By saying, hey, I'm the one who fired these guys and my decision. And now, hey, this is your guy that you're bringing in. You're putting your stamp on it. So if it doesn't work out, guess what? You're both gone.
Yeah, the way I see it is,
let's go with that.
The Bengals gave Zach Taylor enough rope to hang himself. He's either going to use that rope in a productive way and climb the mountain, or he's going to get it stuck around his neck and they're going to move on.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Hunter, I don't totally, he says Callahan left for a head coach job, so it's a completely different situation. No, it's not. You're still replacing an offensive coordinator with a guy that's already been here. So just because he left doesn't make it a different situation.
I would say it's different insofar as Zach Taylor is still your head guy on the offense, right? And they brought in two additional offensive coaches that I think had big impacts. So
Yes.
they did promote Dan Pitcher, and Dan Pitcher was going to get an OC job. He was more desired. Maybe that's part of it, is that like he was going to get a job somewhere.
He was getting a job somewhere for sure.
But they did also bring in two additional coaches on the offensive side of the ball, and we talked about Salkin for more time than we needed to talk about Salkin earlier. But Justin Riscotti as well, pass game coordinator. Like those guys made a difference. Those guys helped.
Now, were those more of Lou, or excuse me, Zach's hires? Or that Zach wanted that, or how do you? Because they didn't have that before. They added,
I believe that was Zach.
Now, see that if you look at it that way, it bodes well. He did good of getting Pitcher and adding the two extra coaches, and now he's going this route. So
I would say that the other difference there is that if you're going to trust Zach for something more than you would trust him for other things that might be on the offensive side of the ball. My understanding of things is that like the defensive coordinator position in Cincinnati is a bit of a bigger role than it necessarily is with some other coaches. Like you're essentially head coach of the defense, which like isn't that unusual because head coaches typically have offensive or defensive backgrounds, but like it's different than perhaps Baltimore or LA, where the Harbaughs are a little bit more hands-on, I think, on both sides. And we don't know this for sure, but like my impression is that the job in Cincinnati is a bit of a bigger job.
Yeah, Zach lets him coach his defense. That's yours. I got the offense. I mean, I think he communicates with them and stuff like that, but I think he lets them pretty much run the show over there for sure.
Yeah.
Which is why I thought, they should have had an extensive process. And it's not to crap on Golden. I'm okay with the hire. Like, it doesn't bother me at all, and I'm cautiously optimistic. But had they had a bigger process, I do think it's a coveted job. I don't know why you couldn't have had Saleh in for an interview, Eberflus, Dennis Allen at least for an interview.
They had time.
If he's getting hired with the Bears.
2 weeks? Yeah.
Like that's all I think I wanted to see.
Like I said, there's a chance that Saleh is head coach or San Francisco. And that's just been written. And the Bengals have no chance.
Saleh, we don't find a lot of stuff. Who knows? Maybe they I doubt this, but maybe they reached out to him and he said, no, he's not interested. Who knows?
I'd be a bit surprised. And Dennis Allen could have privately hitched his wagon to Ben Johnson wherever Ben Johnson was going. Maybe they never had a shot, right?
Right.
Although there was reporting that it was down to Lou and Dennis Allen for that staff. So maybe it wasn't preordained there. You're right. We don't know. We heard at one point that Eberflus was quote unquote involved, of course, as you know. We also heard that Wink Martindale was on the radar, which wasn't true. So
Paul Dehner pretty much poo-pooed that one real quick.
so maybe the Eberflus thing was never true either. But maybe there was interest there, and maybe they had a preliminary conversation. That was kind of it. Because you can bet they had a preliminary conversation with Al Golden before today. They're not hiring Al Golden and a defensive line coach today if they've never talked before.
Right. Oh, yeah. Me and Dale talked about this last week, that I was surprised that we haven't heard anything on the offensive line or we didn't hear anything about any defensive coordinators or anything else coming in. And Dale brought up a good point. He goes, they could do Zoom calls. We would never know. So, I mean,
I do think that every formal coordinator interview has been reported this cycle for every team.
Even the coaches, like the O-line coach?
No. Coordinator.
Coordinator. Okay, my bad.
Coordinator and up. Yes. I think those get reported.
Okay.
Like coordinator job, because of the Rooney Rule, I think there's mandatory reporting from teams to the NFL, and then I think the national reporters get their hands on those reports. I think coordinators, head coaches, and GM jobs you're going to hear about pretty much every interview. I don't think those are sneaking under the radar. There could be informal conversations that we don't hear about, but in a way that head coaching interviews happen and offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator interviews happen, I don't think we hear about any positional coach interviews.
No. Right.
Anywhere. Like maybe 1% of position coach interviews do you hear about, but you'll hear about all the high level coach interviews.
Now, Al Golden, he was interviewed today. Do you know, is he actually here in Cincinnati? Do you know that?
Believe so.
Because I think aren't they going to introduce him tomorrow? Is that?
That's the rumor, I think.
Okay, nothing's confirmed yet, though. That's
right.
Excuse me, that's a rumor.
I would say that I have heard nothing about a prospective press conference, and we've been trying to find that out for logistic purposes for Locked On Bengals. There's nothing currently scheduled as far as I know.
Because they're going to have a press conference for each normally they have a press conference for each coach.
For the coordinator, yes. I would be a bit surprised to see the other coaches, but
Well,
maybe.
they did for Pollock. They did. I remember when
Pollock was given a coordinator title.
Run game. Okay, yeah. Okay, I got you. Yep. So that was different. So maybe it will just be Al Golden. But either way,
Maybe.
I'll be.
I'm not
excited.
sure. We might hear from Peters. We might not. I mean, he did an interview with Dan Horde. That might be.
That might be it. Yeah, that might be all we get there.
I'm going to ask for him too. We'll see if I can get him. But.
Jake, got a question for you. You know me. I always say I was looking at everything. You quoted it. Look at everything through orange-colored sunglasses here. For the Bengals offseason, I think if they fix 4 positions, we're going to be in the playoffs. The 2 guards get an edge and interior lineman. Of course, there's more draft picks, free agents. They got to do more than just that. But if they're able to fix those 4 spots and you get a consistent pass rush on the other team, and you have an offensive line to keep Joe Burrow upright. One, how am I too optimistic that we can fix all that in one off season? And if we do you think I'm right that we'll be back in the playoffs next year?
I think that's probably the foundation of it. I don't think it's impossible. I don't think that this is a great free agent class. I think
what about guards? Is there? I haven't even got a chance to look at the guards for free agents.
There are guys that are okay.
And there a guy for the Chiefs that's supposed to be pretty good. That's going to be a free agent.
I do not think Trey Smith should be somebody the Bengals should consider.
Why is
I think they should have drafted him. I don't see the fit. I don't think he's a great pass protector. I think he's going to cost $22 million a year. And I just, for the way the Bengals play offense, I don't think you're getting your return on investment.
And I keep saying this too. We got to get some money off of that offensive line, meaning we have to draft guys and develop them. They with defense.
Yeah, they will need to find somebody cheaper. Like it's going to be probably one veteran and 1 draft pick.
Tevin Jenkins is probably going to get too much money as well. Would you agree with that? I know Kevin Zeitler's like 34. There's Will Freeze who's coming off an injury, but he was pretty good for the Colts. There's a few names at least, but I don't know the realistic players.
There's a few like Kappa-like players when they signed Kappa, not what Kappa deteriorated into.
Thank you. Kappa wasn't a bad signing. Everybody keeps crapping on him. He was good at first. Yeah.
He got hurt. He got worse.
Yeah.
I think that's probably those are probably the most important spots. I think they need 3 tight ends. I think that tight end should not be a position that we ignore. It's seen as a bit of a luxury in this offense because they can rotate guys in there every year in different ways. Mike Gesicki wasn't a tight end for what it's worth, but I don't think that you can count on Eric All, just given the injury history and
unfortunately
another big injury there. Cam Grandy is a fine tight end 4.
We got Tanner Hudson though, Jake. Tanner Tutty. I mean, come on, we got him, right?
He's a free agent, and he's also getting outsnapped by Cam Grandy down the stretch. So
that was sarcasm,
there's literally, I know, but you got a tight end 3 quality player in Drew Sample, and you got a tight end 4 quality player in Cam Grandy.
And an unknown in Tanner McLaughlin because he never saw the field.
Yeah, Tanner McLaughlin doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Hopefully he can be
something
on the roster next year. I think would be the hope there.
Or not, right? If he's not good enough, if they
I mean, he got a redshirt year, but they're going to need tight ends. I think that every mock draft between now and April will have Xavier Watson in the 2nd round. We'll see what they decide to do with Geno Stone. I think that's the one cap cut candidate that they might not cut. That's the one that feels the most.
I keep going back and forth on him. I keep going back and forth on him. I've said this. It depends on who they get as DC and how he thinks Geno could fit into his defense.
And Geno doesn't fit.
Yeah.
What Notre Dame was doing last year.
Right. So that to me tells you you're probably going to cut him.
How about Jermaine Pratt? I mean, he did coach him already. That was the only other candidate that's floated out there as a potential
his best seasons with him as the linebackers coach too.
But he has 29, and he does look like he's lost a step. I don't know that he's the greatest leader, even though he was voted a captain this year. That's just something that I'm not sure about. But your thoughts on him? I know Stone. Would you even put Pratt in the category of a cut candidate or not?
Yeah, I think that's more likely than. Well, I should say before the Al Golden hire, in my mind, it was more likely. Does it change with Al Golden's return, given that he was his position coach? It does get interesting. I'm sure that's something that he talked about with the front office. They had to be on the same page, hopefully, right? Because one of the issues was Lou and the front office not being on the same page. Hopefully they got on the same page with some of these cap cut ideas. I think that Jermaine Pratt is still an okay football player.
Yeah.
He was freelancing a little bit, appeared to be, because Jermaine Pratt will find you if you're wrong.
He'll come to Canada and get you, Jake.
Blood drop emoji.
Yeah.
Blood drop.
I'll get a clown. It's not my responsibility. I've never gotten one of those from Jermaine Pratt, but Sam Hubbard had me blocked for a while back in the day.
What?
Well,
who never blocked you, Jake?
Anyway, I don't think that Pratt is a priority keep. I think that they should be looking to get younger, more athletic at linebacker. I think it'll be Logan Wilson for at least another year.
They re-signed Akeem Davis-Gaither.
I don't know. I don't think that's a priority for,
because if you cut Pratt, then you got Logan Wilson and a couple rookies as in your linebacker.
Well, Shaka Hayward showed some flashes. Young man.
Yeah, no, you're acquiring somebody.
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
I think that there's a need to do that. This is probably a year to draft a linebacker. They haven't done that for quite a while. If there's a good, I don't know the draft class very well, but
we haven't got there yet.
It's not a great class, but I mean, you can usually find somebody to develop in the early.
It's got to get more athletic there.
Yeah,
I think, and I think that you can trust Logan Wilson to communicate and adjust. But I think you do need to get a little bit more athletic there. I think you need a true post safety. So I think you have the priorities generally right. Guard, defensive, front, pass rush, that stuff. But it is more than that in my mind.
Yeah.
Mel Kiper, I don't see round one linebacker.
Yeah, Campbell's good. I mean, he can cover. He can do everything. He's played on the edge some when he was in high school, played for Alabama this year. I don't see round one either. I don't even think I'd take him at 17 even. Pratt would say 5.9 against the cap would be, if they can use that money elsewhere.
Yeah, that's the thing with all the cuts, right? I wrote about this a couple of weeks ago now. Like, the Bengals are going to have up to $160 million in cash to spend and a ton of cap space to go with it.
And that's including they'll have a ton of if they still sign T and Jamar.
They'll still have cap space. So those deals could, and the Bengals won't do this. This isn't how they do contracts, but those deals could be roughly cap neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe spending a little bit of money, like a couple $1 million in current year cap space. T. Higgins would certainly have, like a probably $15 million minimum cap hit, but they're going to have big cash outlays for those guys. They're going to have a big cash outlay if they choose to re-up Trey Hendrickson, which they probably need to do. You don't want to deal with that.
That was my next question, if they're going to do that. Yeah, go ahead.
I just don't want them to deal with it. Whatever it is, don't get to the off-season program and be dealing with these contracts again.
This is I've been saying this. I was like, what I'm going to do, all right, we got the coach stuff figured out. Go sign T, go sign Jamar, extend Trey, and be done with it. Just be done with it. Then you can concentrate on what you want to do in this offseason. We don't have it hanging over our head. Trey Henderson's sitting out training camp because he wants an extension. Jamar's still not I don't want any of that. We don't need that. We're trying to win a freaking Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They need to get this shit done.
And I don't know who else they're paying. Like, that's the thing. Like, just stop being silly about it. Just get it done. They have no one else to pay. Who else are they paying?
Right.
Are they giving Cam Taylor-Britt a big deal?
No.
Right now? No. Mm. Are they paying Dax Hill right now?
No.
Are they paying Miles Murphy right now?
No.
Who are they paying?
Right. I agree with you. That's why I'm like, I just get it done. I don't understand why it's taking so long to get this done. Hopefully that they'll get that done, and that'll be give us some more stuff to talk about. Jake, I know you've been on for about an hour or more on between your show and my show. I appreciate you coming on, dude. I know it's been a busy day, but I'm sure everybody knows where to follow you at and find you, but tell everybody anyway before I let you go.
At Jake Lisco, everywhere that there's social media. I don't really post anything on Instagram. I am on the the new Twitter app, the Blue Sky thing. Mina Kimes was kind enough to put me on her starter pack for NFL follows over on Blue Sky. So somehow I'm racking up followers over there, despite the fact that I hardly post there. I've gained like 6,000 followers in the last 24 hours.
Wow. I never heard of Blue Sky. I have to check that one out.
Mina Kimes, who I love, is pushing people over to Blue Sky a little bit. She's not having a very good time on Twitter. So she's pushing in that direction. And so I'm over there too, but I'm also still posting on Twitter. I'm writing occasionally for the Sports Illustrated site, BengalsTalk.com, that James, my co-host on Locked On Bengals, runs. And
Never heard of that guy.
Yeah, who? Right?
I don't know who that guy is.
Never heard of him. And Chris, you mentioned appreciate having me on a live. I should do it more. I haven't figured out this week yet, but Joe Goodberry and I are planning to do some live streams throughout the offseason. We just did one last Friday. That is up on YouTube, which I've tweeted a link to at some point. It's just a 2.5 hour Joe and I shooting the shit, talking about the offseason and stuff like that. So hoping to do some more lives like that.
Yeah, Jake's not crazy like me. I do it live every day.
Yeah, I record every day. But
you record every day, exactly.
Don't do a live show.
Yeah, you get it all nice and cleaned up and look pretty.
This is the same thing I was wearing for all of my shows today.
Well, I feel that makes me feel. This is the same thing I've been wearing all day.
Yeah, I mean, I went to the gym. I was gonna shower. Then Al Golden news broke, and then I had to do another Locked On. And now I'm here, and now I'm gonna go shower.
Well, Jake, as always, dude, I appreciate it. Hopefully, I can get you on sooner than later.
Appreciate you guys.
You too,
see you, brother.
I'm gonna get you out of here if I get my mouse. My mouse does not want to freaking work. Where'd the mouse go?
You're stuck here. Click the button yourself, Jake. He can't
I
get
can
you
just
out
leave.
of here.
All right, bye.
Bye, Jake. See ya. There you go. Oh, I can't get the freaking. Dude,
I
hate.
gotta be big screen.
Yeah,
like
well,
big spoon.
Well, you are the big spoon. There, that better.
A little spoon.
Like it's stupid. It worked fine. I guess I gotta get batteries in it. I don't know. Whatever. King Blood, you just subscribed. Thanks to. Well, you should also subscribe to Bengals and Brews too if you like that.
Not many people do. It's okay.
Yeah, they didn't get them up to 2,000 subscribers.
We're wild. We say the F word and make people mad. The Scott Lieber guy, he's still mad.
And then Greg likes to eat cake a lot.
Yeah,
it's really weird. You never know what Pork Chop's going to say.
Yeah, Pork Chop says a lot of crazy stuff.
He does. All right, so final words before we get the heck out of here. What's guy? Final words you want to say for Houday Nation before I let you leave?
Well, this one's for Buckeye Nation. National champions. Let's
Woo!
go. We
Yeah.
haven't done a show since we won the title, so I'm excited. Happy for Ryan Day. You know, his father died by suicide when he was 9 years old. It was on like the same date, January 20th, when Ryan was 9. So to win the championship, it's kind of a full circle moment. So feels good for Ryan Day because, I mean, obviously families went through a lot and he's gone through a lot just in his personal life, but also with, the losses to Michigan that have piled up. So
yeah,
happy for him, to get that, win a title that you always have that. You'll hang a banner, and proud for all those seniors that came back for the Buckeyes. So pretty good moment. Notre Dame, man, hell of a season, hell of a fight. Talk about a team that didn't give up and made that a ball game.
Yeah.
And that says something too for Al Golden, the D coordinator.
That's what I've said. Yeah, exactly. Because that defense is the reason Notre Dame kind of got back into it.
Yeah, for sure. But that's it. Bengals and Brews will be doing a show. Plan is Friday at 3:30. Greg kind of wanted to do one earlier. I was like, nah, I'm taking a couple days off. And then I told Iceman the same thing, and here I am. So I still did one.
So like I said, that's a pal right there. But I do appreciate you jumping on because all this news hit, and Jake's like, I might be like 30 minutes late. Like, oh crap, I already had the show scheduled. I'm like, Dale, I know you said you want to take a couple days off. Could you come on and help a brother out? So as always, you're
all good, man. I hate doing
a
show on my own, so anytime which Anthony helped me out. I see Anthony in the chat. He popped on the other day when Dusty from Bengals Army couldn't hop on with me. It was like a late show. You were out to dinner, so
that night, yeah, dude, I didn't get home till later.
But Anthony came on and kind of saved me, so you got to pay it forward and help your buddy back out. And somebody helps you. That's just the way you do it here in the Bengals community.
Exactly. All right, everybody, go subscribe to Bengals and Brews. All right, Houday.
See you, man.
See ya. All right, guys. As always, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Go check out Bengals to Brews. Of course, go check out Locked On Bengals. Well, I'm sure you know who Locked On Bengals are. They're probably a little bit bigger than me, but it is what it is. But thanks for watching. I've been live streaming on CTV Online, YouTube, X, Facebook, Twitch. You can follow me on all those, along with Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. Do me a favor, if you guys are watching this show right now, hit the thumbs up. I have 142 people right now watching. I think I got up to 152. Hit the thumbs up. Give me a subscribe on YouTube. Thumbs up on Facebook. They also had the stars you can do on Facebook. Do all that stuff. So anything you guys can, thumbs up, stars, likes, anything you can hit to try to help out the show on any platform you're watching I would greatly appreciate it. I want to do a shout out to my sponsors. Again, if my remote or my mouse wants to work, and it doesn't want to work right now. Let's see. Come on, scroll up there. There you go. Scroll a little farther. Come on, keep going. I'll get there eventually, I promise. It's coming. There we go. Now let's get over there. Seriously. There we go. All right. Priority Lawn and Landscaping. Shout out to them. I know it's cold right now. You don't even see your grass. But trust me, here in a couple months, it'll be green and growing. So, before then and now, give Priority Lawn and Landscaping a call. Give them to come out there and give you an estimate for any lawn and landscaping things you need. The number is 513-430-6114. Again, that's Priority Lawn and Landscaping. Also, shout out to Midwest Best Barbecue and Creamery. We're out there at Wards Corner Avenue exit, or out 275. Get you some CTB wings, some Uno wings, some Dillinator wings. Like I say every day, take a dart, you throw it at the menu, and get something. It is delicious. Tell Tim and Nicole Ice sent you. Also, show is brought to you by Meyer Windows and Doors. I got them in my house, and I'm glad I do, because it would be even colder down here in Ice Cave if I did not have them. Check them out at www.meyercincinnati.com for all your window and door needs. And my West Side peeps, go check out Hail Mary's, your ticket to the game. It's right there in the heart of Cheviot. Cool little sports bar, big ass TV screen, food trucks, free parking. It's an awesome, awesome place. Again, when you show up there, tell them Ice sent you. Sports Strawberry Ice, that is. Other than that, you guys have a wonderful day. Tomorrow, I am supposed to have Trags. Mike Petraglia is going to be on, and we might be actually talking probably some more Al Golden, and we actually talk about what he says in the press conference. If he's actually doing the press conference tomorrow, which I think he is, we'll find out. And I'm going to end this as soon as my mouse works, but it doesn't want to work again. Come on. I need to get new batteries. This is really, really weird. All right, there you go. Oh, scroll over there. Come on, I'm getting there. Go up. Go up. Not that far. Come on, go down. Go over there. There we go. And that's just sports, baby. See ya! Oh, my goodness. Hold on. Scroll down there. Come on. Move down. Move down. Come on. See ya.
Weekend nights, the city roars. Tune in loud, turn up some more. Cincinnati show, it's time to play. Sports with Strawberry Ice today. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. CTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry Ice, he's on the mic, energy, it's pure delight. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry Ice will lead the throng. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry Ice will lead the throng. Feel the crowd, it's electric now. Shouting loud, they all know how. The CTV got what we crave. Sports with Ice, it's waves and waves. Tigers strike and Bengals roar. Every game we want some more. Tune it in and feel the thrill. Strawberry Ice, he's giving chills. 5:30 energy.